Hello and welcome. Tonight we're going on a different kind of journey together. Not through space, not through time in the conventional sense, but through the intricate and often bewildering world of animal behavior. The world where science meets mystery, where observation leads to more questions than answers, and where the creatures we share this planet with continue to surprise us with behaviors that defy our understanding. As you settle in, let your body relax. Feel the weight of the day lifting away. The mysteries we'll explore tonight aren't the kind that need solving before sleep comes. They're the kind that invite wonder, that gently occupy the mind without demanding solutions, that remind us how vast and unknowable nature truly is. From the depths of the ocean to the peaks of mountains, from dense forests to open plains, animals engage in behaviors that scientists have observed, documented, studied, and still cannot fully explain. Some of these behaviors seem almost supernatural. Others appear to demonstrate forms of intelligence or emotion that blur the line between human and animal experience. Many suggest sensory abilities we can barely imagine. Tonight we'll walk slowly through these mysteries together. Let the rhythm of the words carry you. There's no test at the end, no need to remember every detail. Just let the stories of these remarkable creatures wash over you, like waves on a shore, as you drift towards sleep. Section 1: The Enigma of Whale Strandings. 1800, 2000 words. We begin our journey at the edge of the ocean, where land meets sea, in those liminal spaces where the world shifts from one element to another. It's here, on beaches around the world, that one of nature's most heartbreaking and mystifying phenomena unfolds with tragic regularity. Picture a remote coastline. Perhaps it's the Chatham Islands off New Zealand, a place so isolated that humans rarely venture there. Or maybe it's a beach in Tasmania, or the shores of Cape Cod, or any of hundreds of coastlines where this strange event occurs. The morning breaks, and instead of the usual debris that tides deliver, there are whales. Not one whale, but dozens, sometimes hundreds. Massive bodies that should be gliding through deep water, now motionless on sand. These are the whale strandings, also known as beachings, and they happen somewhere in the fjord approximately 2,000 times each year. Each incident is a puzzle, wrapped in the complexity of marine biology, environmental science, and the still murky understanding we have of how these intelligent creatures navigate their world. The phenomenon isn't new. It stretches back through human history, as far as we have records to consult. Ancient cultures witnessed these events and created myths to explain them. In more recent centuries, scientists have documented, measured, photographed, and analyzed these strandings with increasing sophistication. Yet despite all our modern technology, all our research vessels and satellite tracking and underwater microphones, we still cannot fully explain why whales beach themselves. Some species are more prone to this behavior than others. Pilot whales, with their rounded heads and tendency to travel in large, tight-knit family groups, are among the most frequently stranded. Sperm whales, those deep-diving giants that can hold their breath for over an hour and descend to depths of over 6,000 feet, also strand with disturbing frequency. Certain species of beaked whales, mysterious creatures that spend most of their lives in the deep ocean far from human observation, appear on beaches in ways that suggest something has gone profoundly wrong with their navigation or health. One prevailing theory involves the whale's echolocation system. These marine mammals, particularly the toothed whales, navigate their world through sound. They emit clicks and whistles that travel through water, bounce off objects, and return as echo. From these echoes, a whale constructs a three-dimensional map of its surroundings. It's a form of perception utterly alien to our primarily visual experience of the world. This echolocation works beautifully in the open ocean, where water extends deep in all directions, but near coastlines, where the seafloor rises rapidly, where underwater geography becomes complex with sandbars and channels, and sudden shallows, this system can falter. Shallow water that changes gradually from deep to shallow doesn't create strong echo. A whale might not realize it's entering water too shallow to support its body weight until it's too late. Imagine swimming in the dark, using only sound to navigate, and suddenly the floor you're swimming over begins rising without your full awareness. By the time you realize the danger, momentum and confusion have carried you into water so shallow that you can no longer move. For a creature whose entire life unfolds in 3 dimensions, the 2-dimensional world of a beach is a trap. But navigation errors don't explain everything. Scientists have documented cases where healthy adult whales, with no apparent injuries or illnesses, have stranded themselves. Post-mortem examinations reveal organs functioning normally, no obvious disease, no parasitic infections severe enough to explain death. The whale's internal compasses seem to simply have failed them. Some researchers have proposed that disruptions in Earth's magnetic field might play a role. Whales, like many animals, appear to sense magnetic field. They may use the planet's magnetic contours as a kind of invisible map, guiding their migrations across thousands of miles of featureless ocean. Solar storms, those eruptions of plasma and magnetic fields from our sun, can temporarily distort Earth's magnetic field. If a whale's navigation depends on consistent magnetic information, and that information suddenly becomes garbled or contradictory, the creature might make navigational choices that lead it toward land instead of away from it. There's evidence supporting this idea. A study examining mass strandings of sperm whales in European waters found correlations between the strandings and geomagnetic disturbances caused by solar activity. The correlation isn't perfect. Many geomagnetic storms occur without any strandings, and some strandings happen during magnetically quiet periods. But the connection is suggestive, a tantalizing thread in the larger mystery. Human activity has added new complications to an already complex picture. Naval sonar, particularly the powerful mid-frequency and low-frequency active sonar used in submarine detection, has been linked to whale strandings. The sounds produced by these sonar systems can reach 230 decibels. To put that in perspective, a jet engine at close range produces about 140 decibels. These acoustic blasts can travel through water for hundreds of miles. For animals that depend on sound not just for navigation but for communication, feeding, and experiencing their world, this is more than noise. It's sensory assault. Autopsies of beaked whales that stranded after naval exercises have revealed hemorrhaging in and around the ears, and gas bubble lesions in their tissues, suggesting something like decompression sickness. The theory is that the intense sound causes the whales to panic and surface too rapidly, leading to injuries similar to what human divers experience when they ascend too quick. Yet even this explanation has limits. Not all strandings occur near naval exercises. Some happen in areas where human acoustic activity is minimal. Some involve species that don't typically dive deep enough to experience decompression issues. Then there's the social dimension of whale strandings, perhaps the most emotionally complex aspect of the entire phenomenon. Whales, particularly the species most prone to mass strandings, are intensely social creatures. They form bonds that can last decades. They communicate with intricate vocalizations. They appear to have distinct personalities, recognizable to researchers who study them over years. When one member of a pod gets into trouble, when one whale becomes disoriented or sick or injured and heads toward shore, the others often follow. It's as if the social bonds that make their lives rich and meaningful become, in these moments, a tragic liability. They cannot abandon their family member, whether it's a form of empathy, an instinctive response, or something we don't have language for. They stay together even as that choice leads them to strand and die. Scientists have documented this heartbreaking behavior repeatedly. A matriarch beaches, and her family refuses to leave her. They strand beside her. Rescue workers might successfully return some of the whales to deeper water, only to have them immediately turn around and restrand, driven by bonds stronger than the instinct for self-preservation. What's particularly mysterious is that this behavior persists, despite its fatal consequences. Natural selection should work against behaviors that lead to death. Yet mass strandings have been occurring for as long as we've been observing whales. This suggests either that the behavior serves some purpose we don't understand, or that the underlying causes are so rare or sporadic that selection pressure hasn't been strong enough to eliminate the vulnerability. There are other theories, each with supporting evidence and unexplained aspects. Some scientists have suggested that disease or parasitic infections might affect whales' inner ears or brains, compromising their ability to navigate. Others have pointed to underwater geological features, like gradual slopes or unusual acoustics in certain bays, that might confuse echolocation. Climate change and shifts in prey distribution might be driving whales into unfamiliar waters, where they're more likely to encounter dangerous geography. But none of these explanations alone or in combination fully accounts for all stranding. The mystery persists, a reminder that for all our technological advancement, for all our research and data collection, the ocean and its inhabitants continue to harbor secret. Each stranding is a tragedy, yes, but also a question, an invitation to understand more deeply the lives of creatures whose experience of existence is fundamentally different from our own. As you breathe slowly and let your muscles relax, consider the whales navigating dark waters, reading the ocean through sound, connected to family members by bonds we're only beginning to understand. Their strandings remain one of nature's most persistent puzzles, a mystery that scientists continue to investigate with the hope that understanding might lead to prevention, that knowledge might help protect these magnificent creatures from their own puzzling vulnerability to our changing sea. Section 2. The Riddle of Animal Migration. 1,800–2,000 words. From the mysteries of whales we turn now to another phenomenon that has captivated human imagination for millennia. This one isn't tragic, but it's no less mysterious. We're talking about migration, that remarkable behavior where animals travel vast distances, often with precision that seems impossible given the tools they have available. Picture an Arctic tern, a bird weighing about as much as a cup of coffee, with wings spanning less than 3 feet. Now imagine that this small creature, born in the Arctic summer where the sun barely sets, will within weeks of learning to fly embark on a journey that will take it to the opposite end of the Earth. It will fly from the Arctic to the Antarctic, following a zigzagging path that covers over 40,000 miles. When it arrives at the Antarctic, it will enjoy another summer, another season of endless daylight, because seasons are reversed between hemispheres. This isn't a journey made once in a lifetime. The Arctic tern will make this round trip every single year of its life, which might span 3 decades or more. Over its lifetime, this bird will fly a distance equivalent to 3 round trips to the moon. And it does this without GPS, without maps, without the ability to read stars the way human navigators once did. Yet somehow these birds arrive at their destination with remarkable accuracy, year after year. How do they do it? How does any migratory animal find its way? Consider the monarch butterfly, equally mysterious in its navigational abilities, but operating on an entirely different scale of biology and time. Each autumn, millions of monarch butterflies leave their breeding grounds scattered across the eastern United States and southern Canada. They fly south and west, some traveling over 2,000 miles, to reach specific groves of Oyamel fir trees in the mountains of central Mexico. Here's what makes this especially puzzling. The butterflies that make this journey have never been to these Mexican forests before. They're not following parents or learning the route through experience. The butterflies that arrive in Mexico in October or November are the great-great-great-grandchildren of the butterflies that left Mexico the previous spring. Multiple generations have lived and died in the intervening months, each generation moving progressively north through the summer. Yet somehow these butterflies that have never made the journey, whose ancestors from several generations back made the journey in reverse, find their way to the same trees, often to the same branches that previous generations used. The trees become absolutely covered with butterflies, clustered so densely that branches bow under their weight, creating a living, breathing orange and black blanket that transforms the forest. Scientists have discovered that monarchs use a kind of biological compass that involves the position of the sun, corrected for time of day through an internal clock mechanism located in their antennae. They may also sense Earth's magnetic field, though the mechanism for this isn't fully understood. But even with these discoveries, the full picture remains incomplete. How do butterflies that have never made the journey know where to go? How is this information encoded in their biology? How can a navigation system span multiple generations? The mystery deepens when we look at species that migrate underwater, through an environment that seems even less conducive to navigation. Consider the salmon, swimming upstream against powerful currents, leaping up waterfalls in defiance of gravity, driven by an imperative to return to the exact stream where they were born. Young salmon, called smolts, leave their natal streams and head to the ocean. They might spend years at sea, traveling hundreds or even thousands of miles. Pacific salmon venture deep into the Pacific Ocean. Atlantic salmon swim far into the Atlantic. They feed, grow, and mature in the vastness of the ocean. Then, when the time comes to spawn, but they don't return to just any stream. They return to the precise stream where they hatched, sometimes to within meters of where they began life. After years in the ocean, after all the currents and tides and movements, after growing from finger-length smolts to full-grown adults, they find their way back to a specific creek, sometimes to a specific pool in that creek. How? The prevailing theory involves smell, or more precisely, the chemical signature of their home stream. Water flowing over rocks and soil and through vegetation picks up a unique chemical profile. Young salmon, before migrating to sea, imprint on this chemical signature. Years later, they follow it back, detecting it even when diluted by countless other streams and the vast chemistry of the ocean itself. But smell doesn't explain how they navigate in the open ocean before they get close enough to detect their home stream's signature. Some combination of magnetic field sensing, sun position, and other cues we haven't fully identified must guide them across hundreds of miles of open water. The full system remains incompletely understood, a marvel of biological engineering that we can observe and measure but not fully explain. Green sea turtles present another variation on the migration mystery. Hatchlings that emerge from eggs buried in beach sand immediately head to the ocean. They spend years wandering the open seas, drifting with currents, feeding on jellyfish and other prey. These juvenile turtles might travel thousands of miles. Then decades later, when it's time to lay their own eggs, female turtles return to the beach where they hatched. Not just the same island or coastline, but often the same beach, sometimes even the same stretch of sand. They navigate across featureless ocean, through currents that shift seasonally, arriving at a target that might be only a few miles long after years of wandering. Ascension Island, a volcanic speck in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, is just 6 miles across. Green sea turtles that feed off the coast of Brazil, over 1,400 miles away, somehow find this tiny island to nest. The journey is remarkable enough, but what makes it truly mysterious is that many of the returning turtles are making the journey for the first time, with no experienced guides to follow. Scientists have proposed various mechanisms. Sea turtles may sense Earth's magnetic field with remarkable precision, using it as a map, with both latitude and longitude information. They might be sensitive to the angle at which magnetic field lines intersect the Earth's surface, which changes in predictable patterns across the globe. But translating magnetic field sensitivity into ability to navigate to a 6-mile-wide island in the middle of an ocean still requires explanatory leaps that current science hasn't fully bridged. And then there are the truly bizarre migrations, the ones that seem to defy logic entirely. Take the eel, which lives the salmon migration in reverse. European eels spend most of their lives in freshwater rivers across Europe. Then, when mature, they swim to the ocean and undertake a journey of 5,000 to 6,000 miles to the Sargasso Sea, a region in the middle of the Atlantic defined more by its floating seaweed than any land boundaries. There, in water several miles deep, they spawn and die. Their larvae, tiny and transparent, drift on ocean currents back toward Europe, a journey that takes 1 to 3 years. When they reach coastal waters, they transform into glass eels and begin swimming up rivers, where they'll spend the next 10 to 20 years of their life. Eventually, the urge to spawn will send them back to the Sargasso Sea, completing a cycle that connects rivers thousands of miles apart through the medium of the ocean. Scientists still aren't entirely sure how eels find the Sargasso Sea, or how their larvae, which are essentially at the mercy of ocean currents, manage to arrive back at European coasts with such consistency. Magnetic navigation, current detection, and other mechanisms have been proposed, but the full picture remains stubbornly unclear. What makes migration especially mysterious is the precision involved. We're not talking about animals generally moving from one region to another and settling wherever seems suitable. We're talking about returns to specific locations, often measured in meters or even centimeters. We're talking about journeys that span continents or oceans, undertaken by creatures with brain sizes ranging from a pinhead to at most a few ounces. Some migration mysteries involve abilities that seem to border on the precognitive. Birds called vireys, which breed in North American forests and winter in South America, have been observed ending their breeding season earlier in years when the upcoming Atlantic hurricane season will be particularly severe. The birds seemingly prepare for migration months before hurricanes form, adjusting their behavior based on what information are they detecting that allows them to anticipate hurricane activity months in advance. Scientists have theories, but no definitive answer. The deeper we look into migration, the more questions emerge. How do animals compensate for drift caused by winds or currents? How do they adjust for the changing positions of celestial bodies across seasons and latitude? How do young animals, making journeys for the first time without guidance, access information about routes they've never traveled? Some researchers have suggested that migration routes might be genetically encoded, written into DNA like a map, but a map requires a coordinate system, and translating magnetic fields, star positions and chemical signatures into a coherent navigation system, through purely genetic means, seems to require mechanisms we haven't yet discovered. Others have proposed that animals might use quantum effects, that the same strange physics that governs the behavior of subatomic particles might play a role in how birds sense magnetic field. There's some evidence for this in the form of specialized proteins in birds' eyes that might be affected by magnetic fields through quantum mechanics. But even if true, this explains only one piece of a much larger puzzle, or at the sophistication of these navigation systems, at the evolutionary refinement that allows a 3-ounce bird to fly from pole to pole, at the biological clocks that tell butterflies when to head south, at the chemical sensitivity that guides salmon home. We can measure these abilities, document them, create mathematical models of the forces and cues involved. But the full picture, the complete explanation of how all these pieces fit together to enable these impossible journeys, continues to elude us. As you let your breathing slow, as you allow sleep to begin its approach, picture these migrating animals. Picture them moving through air and water, guided by forces we can barely sense, driven by imperatives written into their biology. Through millions of years of evolution, their journeys continue, mysterious and magnificent, a reminder that the world holds wonders that science is still working to fully understand. Section 3. Synchronized fireflies. 1,600 1,1800 words. Now we move from the large scale to the small, from journeys spanning thousands of miles to phenomena that unfold in clearings and forests, in the span of a few seconds and a few meters. But what these phenomena lack in geographic scale, they make up for in sheer strangeness and beauty. Imagine yourself in the forests of the Great Smoky Mountains, in Tennessee, on a June evening. The light is fading from the sky. The air is warm and humid, carrying the green smell of vegetation and earth. Around you, trees rise into the gathering darkness. And then, as if someone has flipped a switch, the show begins. A flash of light, then another, and another. But these aren't random, they're synchronous. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of male fireflies are flashing in unison, creating waves of light that pulse through the forest. Flash, darkness, flash, darkness, with a rhythm as reliable as a heartbeat. The effect is mesmerizing, almost hypnotic. It looks orchestrated, as if the fireflies have practiced, as if there's a conductor standing somewhere in the darkness, keeping them all on beat. This is the display of Photinus carolinus, one of the few firefly species in North America that synchronizes its flash. Similar displays occur in Southeast Asia with different firefly species, and in pockets of forests and swamps around the world. The phenomenon has drawn so much human attention that lottery systems have been implemented in some locations to manage the crowds of people wanting to witness it. But here's the mystery. How do thousands of individual insects coordinate their flashes with such precision? There's no leader, no firefly standing at the front, directing the other. Each firefly is an independent entity, and yet they flash in near-perfect unison, creating a spectacle that seems impossible for creatures with nervous systems far simpler than our own. To understand the mystery, we need to first understand the firefly's light itself. The glow is bioluminescence, cold light produced through a chemical reaction inside specialized cells in the firefly's abdomen. A molecule called luciferin combines with oxygen in the presence of an enzyme called luciferase, producing light. Unlike a light bulb, which converts electrical energy into light and heat, this biological reaction produces light with minimal heat, making it remarkably efficient. The firefly controls this reaction through the regulation of oxygen. When oxygen is available to the light-producing cells, light is produced. When oxygen is restricted, the light goes out. Recent research has revealed that nitric oxide plays a crucial role in this process, binding to mitochondria and controlling oxygen flow in ways that allow the firefly to create precise flashes. But controlling one's own light is different from coordinating that light with hundreds or thousands of others. How does synchronization emerge? The prevailing theory comes from mathematics and physics, specifically from the study of coupled oscillators. An oscillator is anything that repeats a pattern over time. A pendulum is an oscillator. Your heartbeat is an oscillator. Each male firefly in this framework is an oscillator that naturally flashes at a particular rhythm. When you bring many oscillators together, and when they can influence each other even slightly, something remarkable happens. They can spontaneously synchronize. The mathematics of this was worked out in the late 20th century, building on observations going back decades. Researchers in Thailand in the 1960s documented that fireflies could adjust their flash timing based on nearby flashes, either advancing or delaying their next flash slightly in response to seeing another firefly's light. Do this enough times, with enough fireflies, and synchronization emerges not because any individual firefly is trying to create a coordinated display, but because the slight mutual adjustments cause the population to converge on a common rhythm. It's self-organization, a pattern that emerges from simple rules applied repeatedly by many individuals. Scientists have modeled this mathematically and shown that firefly-like synchronization can emerge from surprisingly simple rules. Each firefly can be represented as an oscillator with a natural frequency. When it sees a flash from a neighbor, it adjusts its own timing slightly. Given enough fireflies following this simple rule, the entire population locks into synchrony. But here's where the mystery deepens. Recent research at Congaree National Park in South Carolina, studying the firefly species Photurus frontalis, revealed something unexpected. The synchronization isn't uniform. Instead of all fireflies flashing in perfect unison, there are groups that flash together, but different groups are slightly out of sync with each other. The overall effect is still coordinated, but it's more complex than simple all-on, all-off synchronization. This pattern has a name in physics and mathematics: a chimera state. It's a state where you have coexisting synchronous and asynchronous behavior, and it's extremely difficult to produce in laboratory setting. Mathematicians and physicists had created chimera states through carefully designed experiments, but finding them occurring naturally, produced by fireflies without any apparent awareness of the mathematical principles involved, was stunning. What purpose does synchronization serve? Why would evolution favor this behavior? The most common theory is that it's about mating. Male fireflies flash to attract females. In a forest full of flashing males, a female might have trouble distinguishing one flash from another. But if all the males flash together, then fall silent together, a female who's interested can flash her response during the dark period, and that single flash will be clearly visible to all the males. This creates competition, of course. If every male sees the female's response, they all converge on her location. But perhaps this is part of the system. Perhaps female fireflies benefit from having multiple males to choose from, and perhaps the best males, the ones most attractive to females, are the ones most likely to win the competition that ensues. But this explanation, while plausible, hasn't been definitively proven. Some researchers have found that female fireflies do respond more readily to synchronized males than to asynchronous flashing. Other researchers have found that synchronization might help individual males by allowing them periods of darkness to search for female responses without competing visual noise. There are also questions about how the behavior evolved. Synchronization requires that fireflies be sensitive to each other's flashes and adjust their own timing accordingly. This requires neural circuitry capable of perceiving timing differences measured in milliseconds and making adjustments. How did this system evolve? What intermediate stages led to the sophisticated synchronization we observe today? And it's not just fireflies. Similar synchronized behaviors occur in other organisms. In Southeast Asia, certain ostracods, tiny crustaceans about the size of sesame seeds, perform synchronized bioluminescent displays. Males gather and flash together in patterns, creating waves of light in the water. The coordination is precise, and like fireflies, no single ostracod is directing the others. Some species of fireflies in Mexico display synchronization that creates waves of light rolling through trees, patterns that shift and change but maintain coherence across hundreds of individuals. The visual effect is like watching a living light show, nature's own animation, and the mechanisms creating these moving patterns are even more complex than simple synchronous flash. There's also the question of how fireflies maintain synchronization despite differences in their natural flash rates. Individual fireflies have slightly different rhythms. Some flash faster, some slower, yet when they synchronize, they converge on a common rate. This suggests that the adjustment mechanism can overcome individual differences, pulling the entire population toward a shared rhythm. Scientists studying synchronization have also noted that it can break down when too few fireflies are present. Synchronization doesn't occur. There seems to be a threshold, a critical mass of individuals needed before the self-organizing behavior kicks in. Below that threshold, each firefly flashes independently, and the forest at night shows random scattered lights rather than coordinated pulses. Temperature might also play a role. Firefly flash rates are temperature dependent, faster in warmer conditions, slower in cooler ones, yet somehow populations synchronize despite temperature variations across the forest. How individual fireflies compensate for temperature effects while still maintaining coordination with their neighbors is another piece of the puzzle. What makes the firefly synchronization mystery so compelling is its accessibility. Unlike whale strandings, which require being at the right beach at the right tragic moment, or animal migrations, which unfold over thousands of miles and months of time, firefly synchronization happens in specific forests on specific nights, and anyone can witness it. You can see the mystery firsthand, watch thousands of lights pulse in unison, and know that science can explain much but not all of what's happening. The mathematical models work. The theories about coupled oscillators are sound. The biochemistry of bioluminescence is well understood. And yet, standing in a forest watching the lights flash in rhythm, there's something that feels almost magical, something that equations and mechanisms don't quite capture. It's the emergence of pattern from chaos, the spontaneous organization of thousands of independent agents into a coordinated whole, all without central control, without planning, without awareness of the larger pattern each individual is helping to create. As your eyes grow heavy, as your thoughts begin to drift, picture those fireflies in the darkness. Picture the pulses of light, the waves of bioluminescence rolling through forest clear. Picture the males flashing, adjusting, synchronizing, without knowing why, driven by biology and physics to create one of nature's most beautiful mysteries. Let the rhythm of those flashes, that pulse of light and darkness, carry you gently into Section 4, Elephant Morning Rituals. 1,800 to 2,000 words. From light in the darkness, we move now to another kind of illumination. The light that consciousness and emotion cast on behavior. We turn to elephants and to one of the most emotionally complex mysteries in all of animal behavior: how elephants respond to death. Picture an African savanna at dusk. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. A herd of elephants moves slowly across the landscape, their enormous bodies moving with surprising grace. They're approaching something, and as they get closer, their behavior changes. They slow down. The rumbling vocalizations that usually accompany their movement quiet. They approach what appears to be a pile of bones, sun-bleached and scattered across the ground. These are the remains of another elephant, one that died months or even years ago. And now, as researchers watch from a careful distance, the living elephants begin what can only be described as a ritual. They reach out with their trunks, gently touching the bones. They pick up pieces, turn them over, examine them with what appears to be great care and attention. They might spend an hour or more at this site, standing quietly, touching the bones, before finally moving on. This behavior has been documented countless times across Africa and Asia. Elephants show intense interest in the remains of other elephants. They don't show this same interest in the bones of other large mammals. A buffalo skull or rhino bones might be passed without a second glance. But elephant bones draw them in, command their attention in ways that suggest this isn't random curiosity, but something deeper, something more meaningful. The mystery deepens when we look at elephants' responses to recently deceased individuals. When an elephant in a family group dies, the others don't simply abandon the body and move on. They touch the dead elephant with their trunks, gently exploring the body as if trying to understand what has happened. They might try to lift the dead elephant, as if attempting to help it stand. They vocalize, producing low rumbles and higher-pitched screams that researchers who have witnessed these scenes describe as heartbreaking. In Africa, there are documented cases of elephants covering dead bodies with branches, leaves, and soil. They'll gather vegetation from the surrounding area and carefully place it over the corpse, creating what looks remarkably like a burial. This behavior serves no obvious survival function. The dead elephant won't benefit from being covered. The living elephants won't gain food or protection from performing this action, yet they do it anyway, driven by impulses we can observe but struggle to fully understand. The most detailed studies of this behavior come from Asia, where researchers in India have documented Asian elephants performing what can only be called burial rituals for their dead calves. These aren't casual actions or random behavior. The elephants carry the dead calf, sometimes for considerable distances, moving it away from human settlements and potential dangers. They place it in a specific location, often in irrigation ditches on tea estates, and then cover it with soil. What makes these Asian elephant burials particularly striking is their consistency. Multiple instances have been documented, and in each case the pattern is the same. The calf is carried. The body is placed in a particular position, lying on its side with legs upward, an unusual posture for a dead animal. The herd covers the body with soil. Clear footprints of numerous elephants surround the burial site, showing that this is a group activity, not the action of a single individual. In one observed instance, the herd remained at the burial site, vocalizing loudly, trumpeting and rumbling in what researchers described as expressions of distress and grief. The sounds echoed across the tea estate, an auditory expression of loss that resonates with human experiences of mourning even across the species divide. But perhaps the most mysterious aspect of elephant death rituals is their behavior around bones, especially skull. Elephants have been observed returning to the bones of elephants that died years earlier. They touch them, smell them, manipulate them with their trunks and feet. Researchers have conducted experiments presenting elephants with skulls from different species and found that elephants show significantly more interest in elephant skulls than in skulls from buffalo or rhinos. This raises profound questions. Can elephants recognize the bones of specific individuals? Their sense of smell is extraordinarily acute, far more sensitive than human. When elephants greet each other, they often place their trunks in each other's mouths, touching tusks, exchanging scents in what appears to be a form of identification. Could they smell the bones of a deceased family member and recognize who this elephant was? Some researchers have suggested exactly this. If elephants can remember individuals for decades, which field studies indicate they can, and if they can identify individuals through scent, which seems likely given their greeting behavior, then there's no reason in principle why they couldn't recognize the scent signature on bones, even old bones, and know whose remains they're encountering. The emotional dimension of this behavior is impossible to ignore. When a matriarch dies, when the oldest, most experienced female in a family group passes away, the impact on the herd is visible and measurable. But a matriarch holds knowledge accumulated over decades, where water can be found in drought years, how to navigate territory, which migration routes are safest. Her death is not just the loss of an individual, but the loss of living memory and wisdom. There's a documented case from Kenya's Samburu National Reserve of a matriarch named Victoria, who died of natural causes at age 55. Researchers who had been studying her family for years observed the immediate aftermath. Family members stayed near the body for days. They touched her gently with their trunks. Victoria's youngest daughter stood beside the body for hours, with fluid streaming from her temporal glands that secrete a substance during periods of stress, fear, or heightened emotion. Other elephant families, not directly related to Victoria but living in the same area, came to investigate the body. They lingered, touching, smelling, examined. When researchers returned weeks later, after scavengers and decomposition had reduced the body to bones, elephants continued to visit the site. They would stand quietly, touching the remains, before moving on. What goes through an elephant's mind during these encounters? Do they experience something we would recognize as grief? The behavioral changes certainly suggest altered emotional states. Elephants who have lost family members have been observed eating less, being less active, standing apart from their group. These are the outward signs that in humans we would associate with mourning. But can we make that leap? Can we say with certainty that elephants grieve? The honest scientific answer is that we cannot. We can't access an elephant's subjective experience. We can't know what they feel when they touch the bones of the dead, whether they're experiencing an emotion that maps onto human grief, or something entirely different, something uniquely elephant that we have no words for, and no frame of reference to understand. What we can say is that elephants clearly distinguish death as a significant event. They respond to it in ways that suggest deep, emotional engagement. They perform behaviors that look like rituals, actions repeated with consistency across different herds and different regions. They remember the dead, returning to bone sites years after an individual has passed. There's also evidence that elephants respond to the bones of elephants they never knew. Young elephants born after an individual died still show interest in that individual's remains when they encounter. This suggests that whatever drives this behavior, it's not just about personal loss or individual relationships. There's something broader, something that might be called species recognition, or an awareness that these bones represent one of their own kind. The evolutionary purpose of this behavior, if there is one, remains unclear. Some researchers have suggested that paying attention to elephant death sites and remains might provide survival information. A place where many elephants have died might indicate environmental dangers, disease risk, or insufficient resources. By investigating death sites, elephants might be gathering information that could prevent future death. But this explanation feels incomplete. It doesn't account for the gentleness with which elephants handle bones, the care they take in burial behaviors, the extended vigils beside bodies. These actions suggest something beyond information gathering, something that engages deeper emotional or cognitive systems. The mystery of elephant mourning behaviors reminds us how little we truly understand about the inner lives of other species. We share the planet with creatures whose intelligence is undeniable, whose social complexity rivals our own, whose emotional lives appear rich and deep. Yet the barrier of species, the fundamental difference in how elephants and humans experience the world, means that some aspects of their behavior will likely always retain an element of mystery. Scientists continue to study elephant responses to death, using new technologies and methodologies to gather data. Motion sensors, long-term observation studies, and careful documentation of behavior patterns are building a more complete picture. But each new discovery seems to reveal new layers of complexity, new questions that need answering. As your breathing deepens and sleep draws nearer, picture those elephants standing vigil. Picture them touching bones with their trunks, gentle and careful. Picture herds gathered around a body, quiet and still. Whatever they experience in these moments, whether it's grief as we understand it or something else entirely, it speaks to depths of consciousness and emotion that science is still mapping, mysteries of the mind and heart that cross the boundaries between species. Section 5, the Earthquake Prediction Mystery, 1600 1300 words. We shift now from emotional mysteries to sensory ones, from questions about what animals feel to questions about what they perceive. Specifically, we turn to one of the oldest and most persistent claims about animal behavior, the idea that animals can predict earthquakes. The historical record of these claims stretches back millennia. The oldest recorded instance comes from ancient Greece, from the city of Hela. In 37-3 BC, historians documented that rats, weasels, snakes, and centipedes fled the city in droves, heading away from their normal habitats toward higher ground. Days later, a devastating earthquake struck Hela, destroying the city so completely that it slipped beneath the sea and remained lost for thousands of years. Similar accounts appear throughout history. In China, where earthquakes have shaped civilization and catastrophe for millennia, records of unusual animal behavior before quakes go back centuries. Animals behaving strangely became part of earthquake lore, woven into the cultural understanding of how nature signals disaster. The most famous modern example comes from February 1975, in the Chinese city of Haicheng. In the days before a magnitude 7.3 earthquake, authorities received reports of unusual animal behavior. Snakes emerged from hibernation dens despite freezing temperatures. Dogs barked excessively. Farm animals refused to enter buildings. Based partly on these reports, along with other seismic data, officials ordered an evacuation of Haicheng's 1 million residents. Hours later, the earthquake struck. Because the city had been evacuated, casualties were minimal. Estimates suggest that without the evacuation, over 150,000 people might have died or been injured. This apparent success story fueled belief in animal prediction and led to continued monitoring of animal behavior in earthquake-prone regions of China and Japan. But the picture quickly became more complicated. In 1976, just over a year after the Haicheng success, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck Tangshan, also in China, with no advance warning from animals or any other source. The death toll exceeded 240,000 people. No unusual animal behavior had been reported. This inconsistency is at the heart of the earthquake prediction mystery. Sometimes animals seem to react before quakes. Other times, equally significant earthquakes occur with no apparent animal precursor. Some quakes are preceded by weeks of strange behavior. Others give only hours or minutes of warning. The pattern isn't consistent enough to be reliable, which raises the question, are animals actually detecting precursory signals, or are we seeing patterns where none exist? To understand this mystery, we need to consider what animals might be detecting, if they truly can sense impending earthquakes. Several mechanisms have been proposed, each with some supporting evidence but also significant gaps. The simplest explanation involves foreshocks. These are smaller earthquakes that often precede larger ones. Animals might be sensitive enough to feel these small tremors which humans generally don't notice. Frightened by the foreshocks, animals behave unusually and humans interpret this as earthquake prediction. But this explanation has problems. Not all large earthquakes are preceded by detectable foreshocks, yet some are still preceded by unusual animal behavior. And some earthquake sequences include many foreshocks without any apparent animal response. A more complex possibility involves electromagnetic phenomena. When rocks deep underground are stressed to the point of breaking, this stress might generate electrical charges. Laboratory experiments have shown that stressed rocks can produce electrical and electromagnetic signals. Some researchers have theorized that animals could detect these electromagnetic field changes through various mechanisms. For animals with fur, one possibility is that they sense the ionization of air. Stressed rocks might release ions or create electrical fields that charge particles in the air. Animals with fur might feel this as a static electricity-like sensation, similar to how human hair can stand up in the presence of strong electrical fields. This uncomfortable sensation might drive animals to seek different locations or behave anxiously. Another theory involves gas release. Rocks under stress can release gases, including radon, from underground. Some animals have extraordinarily sensitive smell, capable of detecting chemicals at concentrations measured in parts per trillion. If stressed rocks release gases in the days or hours before they finally fracture and produce an earthquake, animals might smell these gases and react to them. Magnetic field changes are another possibility. Earth's magnetic field can be disrupted by electrical activity in the crust, or by changes in groundwater flow. If animals use magnetic fields for navigation, as many species appear to do, then disruptions in those fields might be disorienting or disturbing, potentially causing unusual behavior. In recent years, researchers have attempted to study this phenomenon more rigorously. In Italy, scientists attached motion sensors to farm animals living in an earthquake-prone region. For several months, they recorded the animals' activity levels continuously. During this period, numerous earthquakes occurred, including several strong ones. The data showed something intriguing. In the hours before significant earthquakes, the animals showed increased restlessness, particularly when the epicenter was close to the farm. The closer the animals were to where the earthquake would originate, the earlier they began showing unusual activity. This pattern is consistent with animals detecting some kind of signal that radiates out from the pending earthquake location. The researchers could even set up a warning system. If activity levels exceeded certain thresholds for 45 minutes or more, it triggered an alert. During the study period, they received one such alert. 3 hours later, a small earthquake occurred with its epicenter directly beneath the farm buildings where the animals were housed. This sounds promising, but several caveats are necessary. The study was relatively short, covering only a few months. The sample size was small, just 6 cows, 5 sheep and 2 dogs. And most critically, for every instance where animals seem to predict an earthquake, there are many earthquakes that occur with no apparent animal precursors, and many instances of unusual animal behavior that aren't followed by earthquakes. This statistical problem has plagued earthquake prediction research for decades. Animals behave unusually for many reasons: weather changes, predator presence, illness, social dynamics within groups, reproductive cycles, and countless other factors. If you monitor animal behavior continuously, you'll see unusual behavior frequently. If you then look for correlations between unusual behavior and earthquakes, and if earthquakes occur regularly in your study region, you'll find some correlations simply by chance. The challenge is distinguishing true precursory behavior from coincidental correlations. This requires large datasets, careful statistical analysis, and a clear definition of what constitutes unusual behavior. Most historical accounts of animal earthquake prediction don't meet these standards. They're anecdotes, interesting but not scientifically rigorous. Even in modern studies with sensors and continuous data collection, the question remains, what exactly are animals detecting? The electromagnetic field hypothesis sounds plausible, but direct measurements of electromagnetic fields before earthquakes often don't show changes strong enough or consistent enough to explain animal reactions. The gas release hypothesis has similar problem. While stressed rocks can release gases, the concentrations detected before most earthquakes seem too low for even sensitive animal noses to detect from distance. There's also the evolutionary question. For earthquake prediction ability to evolve through natural selection, it would need to provide a survival advantage. But earthquakes, even in very seismically active regions, occur infrequently enough that the selective pressure might not be strong. An earthquake prediction ability that's right 50% of the time would be worse than useless. It would cause animals to flee unnecessarily half the time, wasting energy and exposing them to dangers of travel for no benefit. For the ability to evolve, it would need to be quite accurate, triggering only before real earthquakes, and not producing false alarms. But if the signals that precede earthquakes are subtle, inconsistent, and easily confused with signals from other environmental phenomena, developing reliable detection seems unlikely. Some researchers have suggested that what we're seeing isn't specialized earthquake detection, but rather normal animal sensitivities being triggered by unusual environmental conditions that sometimes but not always precede earthquakes. Animals that are sensitive to magnetic fields might react to magnetic disturbances, whether those disturbances are caused by impending earthquakes, or by solar activity, or by thunderstorms. Animals that are sensitive to ground vibrations might react to the tiniest tremors, whether those are foreshocks or vibrations from distant machinery or changes in wind patterns. From this perspective, there's no earthquake sense to discover. There are just normal animal senses being activated by environmental changes that can have multiple causes, one of which is occasionally an impending earthquake. When an earthquake follows unusual animal behavior, we remember it and treat it as prediction. When unusual behavior isn't followed by an earthquake, we forget it or attribute it to other causes. This explanation is less dramatic than the idea of animals having a sixth sense, but it fits the evidence better. It explains why animal behavior is sometimes correlated with earthquakes, but not consistently enough to be reliable. It explains why so many different species with very different sensory systems are all claimed to predict earthquakes. They're all reacting to different environmental signals that can, under certain circumstances, precede seismic events. Yet even this explanation leaves room for mystery. If animals are detecting environmental changes before earthquakes, then those environmental changes are real phenomena that scientists should be able to measure and study. If we can't detect them with instruments but animals can, then animals are sensing something our instruments miss, which is itself remarkable. The earthquake prediction mystery is likely to remain unsolved for the foreseeable future. The phenomenon is too rare, too inconsistent, and too easily confounded by other factors to study effectively. Large-scale monitoring projects tracking animal behavior across multiple species and multiple earthquake-prone regions might, over decades, accumulate enough data to draw firm conclusions. But such projects would be expensive and would require patience, as significant earthquakes occur only occasionally, even in active zones. As you drift closer to sleep, consider the possibility that animals around you might be sensitive to aspects of the environment that you cannot detect. Perhaps they feel the subtle vibrations from distant storms, or sense changes in electromagnetic fields, or smell chemical signals carried on the wind. Whether any of these abilities extend to predicting earthquakes remains uncertain, a mystery that science continues to investigate, waiting for the data and understanding that might finally provide clear answers. Section 6. Other unexplained behaviors. 1,800–2,000 words. The natural world is full of behaviors that resist easy explanation, phenomena that scientists have observed and documented, but cannot yet fully account for. Let's explore a selection of these mysteries, each one a window into the strange and wonderful ways animals navigate their existence. Consider the octopus, a creature already famous for its intelligence, problem-solving abilities, and surprising capacity for memory and learning. Researchers studying gloomy octopuses off the coast of Australia noticed something particularly strange. The octopuses were throwing things, not accidentally dropping objects, but deliberately throwing them at other octopuses, using a technique that involved positioning their siphon, the tube-like structure through which they expel water, at an unusual angle. They would gather debris, shells, silt and direct it toward other individuals. High-speed video revealed that this wasn't random. The throws had targets. Octopuses who had been bothered by neighbors would gather material and hurl it at the annoying individual. The behavior suggests several things: spatial awareness, cause and effect understanding, social cognition complex enough to identify specific individuals as sources of irritation, and motor control precise enough to aim throws. But why throwing specific? Octopuses have other ways to communicate displeasure or establish personal space. They can change color, produce ink clouds, move away. Throwing requires more effort and coordination, yet they do it anyway, and researchers are still working to understand the full context and purpose of this behavior.
Then there are crows, birds whose cognitive abilities seem to place them in a category distinct from most of the avian world. Crows can recognize individual human faces and remember them for years. Studies have shown that if a person traps and handles a crow, that crow will remember that person's face and react negatively when seeing that person again, even years later. But it doesn't stop there. The crow will also teach other crows to recognize that person's face. Researchers who have worked with crows report being scolded by crows they've never personally caught or handled, suggesting that information about dangerous humans spreads through crow populations. The crows are essentially maintaining a database of faces associated with specific threats, and they're sharing that database socially. This requires extraordinary memory, sophisticated facial recognition abilities, and a system for communicating complex information between individuals. While we're beginning to understand how this works, the fact that birds with brain volumes measured in grams can accomplish this kind of cognitive feat continues to challenge our assumptions about intelligence and its physical requirements. Crows also use tools. New Caledonian crows, a species living on islands in the South Pacific, manufacture and use tools with sophistication that rivals anything seen in the primate world except humans. They take twigs or palm fronds and modify them, stripping leaves, bending wire, creating hooks, fashioning tools adapted to specific tasks like extracting insects from tree bark. More remarkably, they can solve multi-step problems, like using a short tool to retrieve a longer tool, which they then use to access food. They can work through sequences of actions, holding intermediate goals in mind while working toward final objectives. Some researchers have observed juvenile crows learning these skills from adults, suggesting cultural transmission of tool use knowledge. Why do New Caledonian crows have these abilities while closely related crow species on nearby islands don't? What evolutionary pressures led to this remarkable cognitive development? These questions don't have complete answers. Tool use is rare enough in the animal kingdom that each instance of it raises questions about how and why it evolved. Dolphins present their own mystery. These marine mammals are famous for intelligence, complex communication, and social behaviors that can include cooperation, play, and what appears to be culture, meaning learned behaviors passed socially from one generation to the next, rather than inherited genetically. In Shark Bay, Australia, some dolphins use sponges as tools. They break marine sponges off the seafloor and wear them over their rostrums, the beak-like part of their snout. While foraging, the sponge protects their sensitive snouts from abrasion and stinging creatures as they search for fish, hiding in rough substrate. This behavior, called sponging, is taught from mother to offspring, primarily through maternal lines, and has persisted in the population for generations. What makes this especially interesting is that not all dolphins in Shark Bay sponge. It's a cultural behavior confined to specific family lines. Dolphins who sponge tend to spend more time alone, foraging in ways that the non-sponging dolphins don't. They've essentially developed a different ecological niche within the same population, enabled by a learned behavior involving tool use. But dolphins exhibit even stranger behavior. There are reports of dolphins stealing bait from crab traps, a behavior that has evolved into a sophisticated operation. Dolphins learn to open bait boxes, flip pots over, and extract fish from various types of fishing equipment. When fishers modify their equipment to make it dolphin-proof, the dolphins often figure out the new designs within weeks. This arms race between human ingenuity and dolphin problem-solving is ongoing in several locations around the world. Meerkats, small mammals living in the deserts of southern Africa, demonstrate another puzzling behavior. They teach their young. This might not sound unusual, as many animals learn from parents, but active teaching where an adult deliberately modifies their behavior to facilitate a youngster's learning is extremely rare in the animal kingdom. Adult meerkats capture scorpions, one of their primary food sources, and bring them to pups. Initially, they bring dead scorpions, allowing pups to practice handling scorpion bodies without danger. As the pups get older and more skilled, the adults bring live scorpions with stingers removed, then scorpions with stingers intact but partially disabled, then finally fully functional dangerous scorpion. It's a graduated learning program, with the adults adjusting the difficulty based on the pup's age and skill level. This requires adults to monitor pups' development, adjust their own hunting behavior to create teaching opportunities, and invest time and energy in education rather than in their own feeding. The evolutionary advantage is clear. Pups who learn to handle scorpions safely are more likely to survive, but the complexity of the behavior, the cognitive abilities it requires, and the commitment it demands from adults make it remarkable. And then there's the IA, a lemur species from Madagascar, that has recently made headlines for a behavior most humans would find familiar, but probably wish they hadn't learned about. An IA was filmed picking its nose with its extraordinarily long middle finger, which can reach a length of 3 inches. But the remarkable part isn't the nose picking itself, it's how the IA's finger reaches. When fully inserted into the nasal cavity, the finger extends all the way down into the throat. This gives the IA the dubious distinction of having perhaps the most thorough nose-picking ability in the animal kingdom. Why do IAs, or any of the other species documented picking their noses, including several primate species, engage in this behavior? One theory is that it might have immune benefits, exposing the immune system to small amounts of pathogens and thereby helping maintain immune function. But this is speculation. The behavior is common enough across species that it probably serves some purpose, but what that purpose is remains mysterious. Spider behaviors present their own puzzle. Male jumping spiders have been filmed leaping away from female spiders immediately after mating, using a catapult-like motion that propels them at speeds and distances that seem impossible for their size. A human scaled up to similar performance levels would launch themselves over 500 meters in 1 second. This behavior appears to be an adaptation to avoid sexual cannibalism. Female jumping spiders sometimes consume males after mating, so rapid escape is advantageous. But the biomechanics of achieving such explosive movement, the muscular and skeletal systems required, and the energy costs involved are all areas of ongoing research.
How these spiders store and suddenly release enough energy to catapult themselves is not fully understood. Then there are the deep-sea sponges discovered living on the seafloor in the extreme Arctic Ocean. These sponges are carnivorous, and they're living in an environment where food is scarce. The mystery is how they survive. The answer appears to be that they've developed a symbiotic relationship with bacteria that help them digest the fossils of extinct tube worms that died thousands of years ago. The fossils still contain organic material, locked in mineral matrices, inaccessible to most organisms, but the sponge's bacterial partners can break down these ancient remains, extracting nutrients from creatures that died millennia ago. It's a form of recycling on a geological time scale, and how this system evolved, how the bacteria and sponges found each other and developed this partnership, is another mystery. Vervet monkeys in the Caribbean have developed a taste for alcohol. On the island of St. Kitts, these monkeys have learned to steal alcoholic drinks from tourists and will actively seek out alcohol, showing preferences for different strengths and exhibiting behavior that looks remarkably like human drinking patterns, including what appears to be alcoholism in some individuals.
How and why this behavior evolved is unclear. The monkeys aren't just consuming alcohol accidentally, they're seeking it out specifically. Some researchers have suggested that the monkeys might be self-medicating, using alcohol's psychoactive effects to manage stress or social tension. Others think it might be simple opportunism, the monkeys taking advantage of a novel resource. The behavior raises questions about the evolution of substance use and the neurological similarities between human and non-human primates. Synchronized animal behaviors appear across many species, beyond fireflies. Some deep-sea creatures synchronize bioluminescence. Certain fish species coordinate spawning, with thousands releasing eggs and sperms simultaneously. Cicadas emerge from underground in synchronized cycles, spanning years or even decades, timing that must involve some form of counting or timekeeping mechanism we don't fully understand. The common thread through all these behaviors is that while we can observe them, document them, and form hypotheses about them, complete explanations remain elusive. Each behavior represents a solution that evolution has crafted to some challenge or opportunity in an organism's environment. But the full story of how and why these solutions evolved, how they're implemented neurologically and behaviorally, continues to be written. As your consciousness drifts, as sleep approaches, picture this vast diversity of behaviors playing out across the planet. Octopuses throwing shells in the Pacific, crows recognizing faces in urban parks, dolphins inventing new foraging techniques in Australian bays, spiders catapulting away from danger. Each one a mystery, each one a reminder that the natural world contains wonders that our science is still working to understand, behaviors that hint at depths of complexity and capability that we're only beginning to appreciate. Section 7. The Deeper Questions. 1601. As we near the end of our journey through these mysteries, it's worth stepping back to consider what all of these unexplained behaviors tell us about something even deeper and more fundamental: the nature of consciousness, intelligent experience across the tree of life. When we look at animals engaging in these complex, puzzling behaviors, we're forced to confront questions that have occupied philosophers and scientists for centuries. What is it like to be a bat, using echolocation to navigate darkness? What is it like to be a whale, perceiving the ocean through sound across hundreds of miles? What is it like to be an elephant,
touching the bones of family members dead for years. The philosopher Thomas Nagel wrote a famous essay called "What Is It Like to Be a Bat?", in which he argued that subjective experience, what it actually feels like from the inside to be a particular creature, might be fundamentally inaccessible to those outside that experience. You can know everything about bat neurology, bat behavior, bat echolocation systems, and still not know what it's like, subjectively, from the bat's perspective, to be navigating the world through sound. The mysteries we've explored tonight all point to this deeper mystery. When elephants stand vigil over bones, are they experiencing grief? When fireflies synchronize, are they aware of the larger pattern they're creating? When whales beach themselves, what are they perceiving or failing to perceive that leads them to make these fatal choices? Science can measure behavior, track neural activity, map sensory systems, identify mechanisms, but converting these objective measurements into an understanding of subjective experience requires a leap that we might never be fully able to make. We can know that elephant brains are large and complex, that they contain neural structures associated with emotion and memory. In humans, that elephants show behavioral changes we associate with mourning, but we cannot know with certainty what an elephant feels. This limitation doesn't mean we should give up on trying to understand. Rather, it suggests we should approach animal behavior with humility, recognizing that our interpretations are always filtered through human experience and human concept. When we describe elephant behavior as mourning, we're using a human word for a human experience and applying it to something that might be similar but might also be fundamentally different in ways we can't imagine. The study of animal behavior has undergone a revolution in recent decades. For much of the 20th century, scientific culture discouraged anthropomorphism, the attribution of human-like thoughts and feelings to animals. There was a fear that if scientists allowed themselves to imagine what animals might be thinking or feeling, they would corrupt their objectivity, seeing patterns that weren't there, projecting human psychology onto creatures who worked on entirely different principles. But this approach had its own limitations. It led to a kind of mechanistic view of animals as essentially biological robots, responding to stimuli according to programmed responses, without any subjective experience worth considering. The pendulum has swung back toward a middle ground, recognizing that while we must be careful not to assume human-like experiences without evidence, we also shouldn't assume the absence of complex experience, just because it's difficult to measure. What we're learning is that intelligence and consciousness are more varied, more distributed across the tree of life than we once thought. Octopuses, whose last common ancestor with humans lived over 500 million years ago, possess remarkable cognitive abilities despite having nervous systems organized completely differently from ours. Their intelligence evolved independently, suggesting that complex cognition can arise through multiple evolutionary pathways. Birds, particularly corvids like crows and parrots, demonstrate problem-solving abilities, tool use, and social intelligence that rival primates, despite having brains that lack the neocortex that in mammals is associated with higher cognition. This suggests that the specific neural architecture isn't as important as we once thought. Different structures can support similar capabilities. What we're seeing across all these mysteries is evidence of sophisticated information processing happening in diverse neurological substrates. Whether it's fireflies adjusting their flash timing based on neighbors' signals, or whales navigating by magnetic fields and underwater acoustics, or elephants remembering individuals across decades. These are all forms of information processing, computation happening in biological hardware, solving problems that the organisms need solved to survive and reproduce. The unknowns in these systems are where things get philosophically interesting. When we don't fully understand how an animal is accomplishing something, when the behavior seems to require capabilities we can't quite account for, we're forced to question our assumptions about cognition, perception, and intelligence. The fact that monarchs find their way to specific Mexican forests, that salmon return to specific streams, that Arctic terns fly from pole to pole, all suggests information processing and decision-making capabilities that we still don't fully understand. Are these processes conscious? Do the animals experience something like decision-making as we know it? Or are these complex behaviors executed through mechanisms that feel completely different from the inside if they have any subjective experience at all? These are not just philosophical questions, they have practical implications. If we want to protect migratory species, we need to understand their navigation. If we want to prevent whale strandings, we need to understand why whales beach themselves. If we want to preserve elephant populations, we need to understand their social structures and emotional lives. The mysteries are not just curiosities, they're gaps in knowledge that affect our ability to coexist with and protect other species. Science progresses by identifying unknowns and systematically working to understand them. Each mystery we've explored tonight represents an active area of research. Scientists are monitoring firefly populations with sophisticated sensors. They're tracking whale movements with satellite tag. They're documenting elephant behaviors with remote cameras. They're studying navigation in migratory species using GPS and accelerometers and new genetic techniques. Each study answers some questions and reveals new ones. We've learned that fireflies synchronize through coupled oscillator dynamics. But we've also discovered chimera states we didn't expect. We've learned that some whales strand due to sonar, but we still can't explain why healthy whales sometimes beach themselves for no apparent reason. We've documented elephant burial behaviors, but we still can't access what elephants experience during these rituals. This is the nature of scientific progress. It's not a straight line from ignorance to complete understanding. It's a meandering path, where each discovery illuminates new areas of darkness, where solving one mystery reveals 3 more lurking behind it. But this doesn't mean we're failing to make progress. Our understanding of animal behavior is vastly greater now than it was 50 years ago. We have tools and techniques that allow us to study behaviors in ways that were impossible in previous generations. The mysteries that remain are deeper, more subtle, more interesting than the mysteries of the past. We're no longer asking whether animals can navigate long distances. We know they can. Now we're asking exactly how they do it, what sensory systems are involved, how the information is processed neurologically, what it might feel like from the inside. These are harder questions, but they're also more rewarding to investigate. Perhaps most importantly, these mysteries remind us of our place in the natural world. Humans pride themselves on intelligence, on cognitive capabilities that seem to set us apart from other animals. We build cities, create art, develop science and technology, send spacecraft to other planets. These achievements are real and remarkable, but the mysteries of animal behavior humble us. They show us that intelligence and capability are not unique to humans, that other creatures solve complex problems and navigate challenging environments using systems we don't fully understand. An Arctic tern flying from pole to pole accomplishes a navigational feat that no human could replicate without technology. A salmon finding its home stream after years in the ocean demonstrates spatial memory and chemical recognition abilities that exceed our own. An elephant's memory for individuals and locations puts human memory to shame. We are one species among millions, one expression of life's creativity among countless others. The mysteries of animal behavior are in a sense windows into other ways of being, other solutions to the problem of existence, other forms of consciousness experiencing the world from perspectives we can barely imagine. As sleep finally begins to claim you as your conscious thoughts dissolve into dreams, consider this: the world is far stranger and more wonderful than everyday experience suggests. Beneath the surface of the familiar mysteries persist. Animals are sensing things you cannot sense, processing information in ways you cannot process, experiencing aspects of existence that remain forever inaccessible to human consciousness. And that's okay. That's beautiful, even. The persistence of mystery, the presence of the unknown, the recognition that there are truths beyond our current understanding. All of this adds richness to existence. We don't need to solve every mystery to appreciate. We can rest easy knowing that the world holds wonders that science is still uncovering, that nature keeps secrets even as it reveals its patterns, that life on Earth is more complex, more varied, more extraordinary than any one mind can fully grasp. Conclusion: 300-400 words. And so we come to the end of our journey through the mysteries of animal behavior. We've explored the beaches where whales strand themselves for reasons we still don't fully understand. We've followed migrants on journeys spanning continents and oceans, guided by senses we can barely imagine. We've watched fireflies pulse in synchrony, creating light shows from mathematics and biology intertwined. We've stood vigil with elephants mourning their dead, witnessed behaviors that suggest emotional depths we're still mapping. We've considered earthquake prediction, tool use, teaching behaviors, and countless other phenomena that sit at the edge of our understanding. Each mystery is an invitation to learn more, to investigate deeper, to question assumptions and push the boundaries of knowledge. Science has made extraordinary progress in understanding animal behavior, but each answer reveals new questions. Each solution opens doors to new mystery. What matters most is not whether we can solve every puzzle, but that we maintain the sense of wonder that drew us into these questions in the first place. The natural world is full of marvels, full of behaviors that seem impossible until you see them, full of capabilities that exceed our own. Animals are navigating, communicating, problem-solving, and experiencing existence in ways that remind us how vast and varied life can be. As you drift fully into sleep now, let these mysteries accompany you into dreams. Let the questions remain unanswered for now. There's no need to solve them tonight, no urgency to understand completely. The world will still be mysterious tomorrow, and the day after, and for all the tomorrows to come. That mystery is not a flaw, it's a feature of a universe, so rich and complex that no single perspective can encompass it all. Sleep well knowing that whales are singing in oceans you'll never see, that butterflies are navigating by compasses you cannot sense, that elephants are remembering truths that will never be translated into human language. The mysteries endure, beautiful and unsolved, reminders of how much there is to discover, how much wonder remains in the natural world. If you've enjoyed this exploration of animal mysteries, if these questions have intrigued you, and if you'd like to see more content exploring the boundaries of scientific knowledge, please consider subscribing to Science Lullaby. and clicking the like button. Your support helps us continue creating these deep dives into the fascinating questions that science is still working to answer. Until next time, rest well, dream deeply, and remember that the universe is stranger and more wonderful than we know.